The papers were already on the table when she walked in, thin white sheets that somehow carried the weight of every argument, every silence, every night spent turning away from each other. The room felt too quiet, the kind of quiet that presses against your chest. He stood up out of habit, then froze, because that was the moment his eyes landed on her stomach. It wasn't subtle. It wasn't something that could be ignored or mistaken. She was 7 months pregnant, and he hadn't known. The air seemed to drain from the room as realization hit him, sharp and unforgiving. And in that instant the divorce stopped being paperwork and became something else entirely, a reckoning just a year earlier. They had been the couple everyone envied. Not perfect, but real. Late night tea on the balcony, shared jokes that made no sense to anyone else. Dreams spoken softly as if they might break if said too loud. He had been ambitious, always chasing the next promotion, the next proof that he was becoming someone. She had been patient, believing that love meant understanding sacrifice. But slowly, almost invisibly, ambition turned into absence. He missed dinners. He missed conversations. He missed her eyes searching for him across the room, asking silently to be chosen over work just once. The arguments didn't start loud. They started as sighs, as pauses, as moments where she wanted to talk and he wanted to sleep. He told himself it was temporary, that once he reached a certain level, everything would slow down and they would be happy again. She told herself the same thing, until one day she realized she was telling it only to herself. Loneliness inside a marriage feels heavier than loneliness alone, and she began to carry that weight quietly. When she found out she was pregnant, her first instinct was joy mixed with fear. A child was supposed to bring them closer, she thought. Maybe this would remind him of what truly mattered. She tried to tell him, twice. The first time he was rushing out the door, phone to his ear, nodding without really listening. The second time he brushed it off, saying they would talk later. Later never came. That night, after another argument about his absence, he said words he couldn't take back. He said maybe they wanted different lives now. The silence that followed was colder than any shouting. She left the next morning with a small suitcase and a heart full of questions. She didn't tell him about the baby, not out of spite, but out of exhaustion. She needed space to breathe, to think, to feel without being dismissed. Weeks turned into months. Her body changed. Her emotions deepened. She learned to place her hand on her growing stomach and whisper promises of safety and love. She learned she was stronger than she had ever believed. Even as the nights grew heavy with doubt, he, on the other hand, buried himself even deeper in work. At first the freedom felt like relief. No arguments, no expectations waiting at home. But relief slowly gave way to emptiness. The apartment felt too large, too quiet. He caught himself reaching for his phone to tell her small things, then stopping when he remembered she wasn't there. He told himself the divorce was the right decision, that some things just end. Still, a part of him felt unsettled, like a chapter had closed before it was finished. Now she stood in front of him, visibly pregnant, calm but guarded. He couldn't speak. His mind raced through memories, through dates and months, through possibilities he hadn't allowed himself to consider. The child was his. There was no denying it. Guilt crashed over him in waves so strong he had to grip the edge of the table to steady himself. He realized how much he had missed, not just her pain, but the life growing because of them. She took a seat, carefully, as if protecting more than just herself. Her eyes held a quiet strength that hadn't been there before. She had changed. Motherhood had already reshaped her, grounding her in a way he couldn't yet understand. She didn't look at him with anger. That almost hurt more. She looked at him with clarity. The lawyer cleared his throat awkwardly, sensing the tension, and asked if they were ready to proceed. The words finalize the divorce echoed in his mind, clashing violently with the image of her stomach, round and undeniable. He raised a trembling hand and asked for a moment. His voice sounded foreign to his own ears. He asked her why she hadn't told him. The question came out weaker than he intended. Stripped of accusation, she answered honestly, saying she had tried, and when she couldn't, she chose peace over conflict. She said she wasn't there to trap him or demand anything. She was there because clarity mattered, for all of them, especially the child. Something inside him broke open. For the first time, he truly listened. Not with half his attention, not while planning his next response, but fully. He saw the months she had endured alone, the courage it took to walk into that room, the maturity it took to put the child first. He realized how small his worries about work suddenly seemed. He asked if there was any chance, not of saving the marriage instantly, but of trying to rebuild trust, slowly, honestly. She didn't answer right away. She spoke about the nights she cried herself to sleep, about feeling invisible, about learning to stand on her own. She said forgiveness wasn't a switch you flipped. It was a road you chose to walk, step by step, if the other person was truly willing to change. He didn't make grand promises. He didn't swear overnight transformation. He did something far more important. He took responsibility. He admitted his failures without excuses. He acknowledged that love required presence, not just provision. That day, the divorce papers remained unsigned. Change didn't come easily after that. There were setbacks, uncomfortable conversations, moments where old habits tried to resurface. But this time, he noticed. He showed up. Doctor appointments, Quiet evenings, listening without interrupting. He learned to put his phone down and his heart forward. She watched carefully, protecting herself and her unborn child, but slowly, cautiously, she allowed hope back in. When their child was born, the moment he held that tiny life in his arms, something fundamental shifted. He understood, with breathtaking clarity, what was truly at stake. Not just a family, but the chance to be the kind of man his child would look up to. The kind of partner who didn't need to be reminded to care. The story didn't end with perfection. It ended with effort, with grace, with two people choosing kindness over pride, growth over comfort, love over fear. And sometimes, that is the most powerful ending of all. If this story moved you, let it remind you that it's never too late to listen, to change, to choose better. Life has a way of placing mirrors in front of us at the most unexpected moments. What we do when we see ourselves clearly can alter everything. If you believe in second chances, in growth, in the quiet power of kindness, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Kindness Talks. Your support helps these stories reach hearts that might need them most today.